Today's lesson, we're going to continue looking at Google Sheets, but we're going to be looking at more complex formulas. There will be some review. We will see again about how to format data, how to copy and paste data, how to create a graph or chart, as it says in Google Sheets, and how to edit a chart's label. Also, what we're going to be learning is those more complex formulas, how to multiply one box by another box or one box by a percentage, subtracting one box from another box, and you can see our example right there. So we might want to take cell B2 and multiply it by 15%. Here is a spreadsheet that I've already started filling out. I've got employees, I've got hours, I've got rate of pay. And one thing under rate of pay is these people are being paid in dollars. So I want to reflect that in my spreadsheet. So I can select everything that I want to change for formatting, and I can come up here and I can click Format as Currency. Once I've done that, the money sign will show up automatically. If I want to increase or decrease the number of decimal places, I can click this. See, an additional decimal place added? I only need 2 decimal places. Other formatting I might want to do is change how these look. So I can select my labels and I can go up to the fonts. I could change it to be Impact. I'm pretty happy with Arial. I could also change it to be bold, italicized. I can change the text color. I can also change how it aligns. So right now everything's aligned to the left. So each column, the words are going to stay to the left of it. If I go up to my Align tab, I can have them be centered or right aligned. I'm going to go back for left aligned. Of note, when you type in numbers instead of text, it automatically right aligns. You can change that by selecting and choosing left align. But I'm happy with it being right aligned right now. So I'm looking at the instructions for this, and it says that gross pay is the hours times the rate of pay. If I want to do 8 times 22.5, I need to use a formula. But before we figure out exactly how to enter that formula, let's go look at the format of formulas. If I go up to Insert, Function, and say Sum, notice how there's a equals, an action, and then a spot for data in these parentheses. If I insert a different function, again we have the equals, a function, and then parentheses. If we want to use operators like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, we don't need a word to come after our equals. We can go straight into our cells where we insert information. So in this case, I do an equals, an open parentheses, and a close parentheses, and then when I'm in there, I can click the cell and type in the operator. The operator for multiplication is the star above the number 8. I can then click the next cell. What this says is take whatever is in cell C7, multiply it by whatever is in cell D7. When I hit enter, it will do the math. 8 times 22.5 is 180. I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to do equals, which starts a function. I'm going to do open parenthesis, and I'm going to say I want to multiply cell C8, so C8 times D8, close parentheses, hit enter. I could go through and type in all of these formulas, but as we learned in our last lesson, when you have a box with a function in it, if you click the blue square at the corner of the box and drag it down, it will copy that formula to all the cells that you drag the box over. Let's try a different example. If I want to figure out my FICA score, I look at my instructions and it says my FICA is my gross pay times 6.2%. All right, that sounds like a time for a formula. I'm going to do equals, open parentheses, and then it was gross pay, which is found in box E7, times, and I want to convert 15% into a decimal. 15% as a decimal is 0.15. When I close parentheses and hit enter, we will see that FICA is $27 out of our total pay of $180. That's a whole lot. I can add that and drag that down. The exact percentages will be different on your instructions. So please pay careful attention to them, because typing in the wrong formula could give you the wrong score. Let's say instead of 15%, your instructions actually said 6.2%. How could I edit that? I click the box that I want to edit, and then I go up to the function tab, and we can see what I've typed. Equals, open parentheses, E7 times 0.15. Instead of 0.15, I wanted 8%, I would type 0.08. Now that only changes the first box. That doesn't change the other boxes. The other boxes still say, if you click them, 0.15%. To overwrite that, I can click the box, click the blue square on the corner, and drag it down to overwrite everything else. I've got another column here. This column is Medicare. Our Medicare tax can be calculated by hitting equals, open parenthesis, and then, according to my instructions, Medicare is gross pay times 1.5. Gross pay times, and 1.5 as a percentage is 0.015. Close parentheses, hit return, and I can see the Medicare tax. I want to copy the Medicare tax by clicking the blue square at the corner and dragging it down. Now, net pay is quite a bit more complicated, but if we take it step by step, we can still do it. To calculate net pay, we must first start with our gross pay and subtract any deductions, such as FICA and Medicare. For net pay, I'm going to use a formula as well. I'm going to use equals, open parenthesis. Now my first number, gross pay, E7. Now I want to subtract my FICA, and I also want to subtract my Medicare. When I close parenthesis and hit enter, I can see that $180 minus $14.40 minus $270 has been calculated out, and Bob won for 8 hours of work takes home $162.90. As I did with the gross pay, the FICA, and the Medicare, I can copy this formula down. I only have to enter it once. I can do that by clicking the blue box and dragging it down. Your instructions may include formulas other than FICA, Medicare. So be sure to include those in your final draft. The instructions also ask us to create a second sheet and copy the net column. Here we have net pay. I'm going to select everything in net pay, and I can either right click, copy, or I can press Control C. I can create a new sheet at the bottom of the document with the Add Sheet button. On my next sheet, I can either paste by right-clicking and clicking Paste, Special, Paste Values Only, or Control-Shift-V. Now, why did I have to do a different Paste Special? Well, let's look at what happens if I don't use Paste Special. So on my new tab, I right-click and I paste. And weird stuff's happening. What if I paste it down here? Right-click, paste. All right, we got some strange things going on here. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So pound reference, exclamation point. What that's saying is it can't get whatever it needs to get. So let's go look at our formula. What is it trying to do? It's trying to take something that doesn't exist, subtract something that doesn't exist, then subtract A14 from that. It's trying to, just like over here, just like on the first sheet, where by dragging down, it's trying to continue that formula. It's trying to do that over here, but there's none of that information that it needs to grab. And being over this close to the side, it can't go further to the left of that A tab. Over here, we have some numbers showing up because it's able to take A4, which is 0, subtract B4, which is 162, and then subtract C4. So 0 minus 162 minus 0 is negative 162. This would not give us any useful numbers if we did it further away. Paste. In this case, it's trying to take F5, subtract G5, and subtract H5 and get 0. That is not useful to us. So we have to be careful when we're copying and pasting something with a formula in it. Do we want the formula or do we want the data? And in this case, we only care about the data. Let's go back to sheet 2. To make a good-looking chart, we're also going to want the employees' names. So to get those, we go back to sheet 1, and we select employee and our employees, and we can copy. Right-click copy or Control-C. When we go to sheet 2, we can paste that with a right-click paste. Now, it's okay to do just a paste here because there are no formulas in the Bob's names. Let's create our chart. We can go to Insert, Chart, and our chart will pop up. What's interesting here is because this is such a simple layout, Google Sheets knew what I probably wanted, and so it made its best guess and created this. And it has net pay versus employees. We can see our net pay along the side, and we can see our employees along the bottom. This is almost exactly what I want. However, there are a few exceptions. Let's go look back at our numbers. Our numbers are just that. They're not money. I want to select my numbers and I want to change their format. I want to make them be formatted as currency. So I come up here and I click the money sign. When I click that, we can see the graph automatically updates with the change in the data. And our data is now formatted. One more interesting thing about having it formatted as currency, I'm going to use the undo button, or Control Z, to go back. Bob4 made 126.7. Normally when we see currency, we see it like Bob2 as 66.97 with 2 decimal points. Bob3 has a whole bunch of numbers after its decimal points instead of 2 places. When we format it as currency, I'm going to click the redo button or Control Y. It returned us to having 2 decimal points, which is ideal because that is one of the steps for our project. We also are to label our graph. So if we were to make our chart and it did not conveniently help us by putting names in, once you have the chart open, click on what you want to change, and over on the side, we can see that it's changing where we're editing. So instead of employee, I wanted to label it as the Union of Bob. That appears. Net pay versus employee. This one you can just click and type. Net pay for each employee. By pressing return, it enters it in. If I wanted this centered, I can go over and click center. That looks real nice. In this walkthrough, we have seen how to format data, how to copy and paste data, how to create a graph or chart, how to edit a chart's labels, and we've learned how to work more hands-on with our formulas.